Hello, hello. Welcome back to Empathetic Educators EE Conquest. We are now in the home stretch. We're actually on session 9. I can't believe it. And I need to be calm with this one because I'm very excited to see my friends from New Zealand. So I'm going to keep myself calm, keep myself organized, and I'm getting excited about that too. So we're going to be talking about coaching and co-teaching and collaboration. So I'm really excited about this topic. Let's get ourselves started. So yes, like I said, we're back for session 9. I can't believe it that we're almost nearly done the whole day of learning. So I just want to do a recap because some people have been here. We have a couple people, Mel back again, who has already been part of the whole day of learning with me. So you're still standing, which is great. But yeah, I just want to give a little overview of what's going on and how you can catch up on all the different sessions that's happened so far. So we have got a booklet that's part of the whole thing. So a guide to the whole session that you can find out at bit.ly/EEConquest guide, and it has all the wonderful things going on there for you. You can also catch up on all the previous 9 sessions at bit.ly/EEConquest 2021 and all the resources that have been happening as well. So that's all the things that you can find in that space. And the very last thing that I just want to let you know about, we got past the $100 mark for raising money for Youthline because we're all about mental health here at Empathetic Educators. So you can find out how to donate at bit.ly/EEYouthline, or you can just share that link with other people so they can donate as well. So both those things are really powerful to do. So I just want to put up my first guest. And like I said, I'm going to keep myself composed. I'm going to keep myself ready for the group coming on. So I can see them laughing. They're already being like, Naomi, you will not be composed. You will not be excited. But yeah, thank you so much, Emma and Haley, for coming on. And yeah, my teammates, you're part of we've worked together on different parts, different things. Yeah, let us know a little bit about you. And we talked about the flame. So I don't know if you have a flame there. It's no problem if you don't. But we're just, you do. You're so prepared. So we're looking at Empathetic Educators, EE Conquest, or flames, and what ignites your passions, what fuels your mission. So yeah, let us know a little bit about your space and what you do.
Yeah, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay, so I've got here that what fuels me is friends, whānau, food, nature, travel, fun, empathy, and learning. So I think when it comes to teaching, and what really drives me is building those relationships, and the empathy piece is a big one.
Cool, thank you. And Haley?
I've got family, travel, friends, connections, new experiences, and fun for what fuels me and my passions. And then my impact and my difference that I want to have is I kind of love planting little seeds in the little people's brain and kind of creating new passions through STEAM. So I've got lots of pictures on the outside of science and brains and hearts and a watering can of a seed. So
cute. Yeah. And just a little background. Thank you so much for the audience taking part. So I used to work in New Zealand in Stonefields, and it's all like a innovative learning environment. So we had teams of 2 or 3, and we all worked together with learners ranging from 50 learners to 80 learners in a hub space. So currently Emma and Haley are team teaching together, isn't that correct? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you're in grade 3, isn't that right? So one of our questions that I would like to know about what you think about it is, what are some strategies you think could help get co-teaching off to a good start? So you've obviously worked in different teams. You've been in these Stonefields for a couple of years. And so what do you think is good for co-teaching starting off at the beginning?
Well, Emma and I first started co-teaching back in 2019 when she was my mentor when I was a beginning teacher. So we did a lot of cross age levels team teaching and collaboration.
We did a lot of oral language and science together with our different year levels.
Yeah, so we said it's a partnership. So we created a partnership then.
Yeah, and then we were so lucky that we got to be together this year, and we teach in year 3 and 4 together. And so we think it's really important to create a relationship outside of school, kind of at the beginning of the year, to kind of make it so that you've got that connection that's not just based on school and work, but also personal level to it as well.
Yeah, and whether that be something small like taking yourself off for a coffee or like a hot drink on a outside of school and just having a walk or something like that, and kind of building that relationship. I think that's quite important to start with.
Yeah.
And I think what I liked about like what you used to do, like the random acts of kindness was really cool. Like that was like a really great project that like we were doing with like some of the things was actually like helping each other and letting other people feel noticed was like a really nice thing that we used to do in the project as well, which was really cool. Yeah. Do you want me to share your screen? Do you have something you want to put up?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is it not sharing?
Yeah, it's up now.
You want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, it's up now.
It's coming.
Cool.
Yeah, so what we talked about with the team teaching across year levels with our back in 2019, and then we bounce off each other, so bounce off ideas, and even when we're team teaching, it's in the classroom, we kind of bounce off each other when we're with the kids as well, and I think that's really important.
Yeah, and trialing different styles of team teaching, whether it's like we're both up the front or whether one of us kind of taking a group while the other one's doing something else.
Yeah,
it's good to see what works and what doesn't. So we said about kind of like trial and error, so reflecting a lot. It's like what worked, what didn't, what could we do next.
And I really like that word about compromise as well, because it's such a big part of the team teaching part is like, what do we bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? What do I bring to the table? What can we bring together? And sometimes those things come out even whenever you don't know what you can bring to the table sometimes, because these people help you like do that too. Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes obviously things don't go your way as a teacher, so but noticing that within ourselves as well, like sometimes if you want something to happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen through teaching.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking
like
about?
The other person is like there to kind of help you reflect and respond in the best way, which is awesome.
Just like you're reflecting and responding right now, bouncing off each other. Isn't that so nice?
Highly
so we've just kind of brainstormed some kind of like key characteristics we think it's kind of important to recognize in yourself, but then you kind of recognize it in your team or the person that you're co-teaching with. So we kind of think empathy is a big one. Like, like if you realize somebody's not having a good day, of course you're going to kind of acknowledge that and see how you can support.
Or naturally just like step up if they're that day they were taking the whole hub for something and leading, and they're having a bad day, you just naturally see that they're not having a great day and just kind of step up through that. And so that's about understanding as well and being flexible, like plans change, and then obviously respecting each other, and like you were mentioning before, acknowledging strengths.
That's a big one. Like seeing how we can be together even better than if we were alone.
I love the empathies at the start of at the very top of it all. Funnily enough, like Shannon said, I hear Naomi's passionate about empathy too. Like I think that's like it's such a big part of it. But I think that's what I really loved about like all of our conversations, and like we didn't actually work together as like team teaching, but we worked together like sharing ideas. We worked together as like different parts and like co-teaching across different levels as well. So whenever I was working in the year 4, 5, 6, we were sharing little takeaways in like the younger years too, and learning from each other. And I think that's what really, really, like you're saying about like if you're having a bad day or something, like if you're in a single space, you've got nowhere else to turn to and nowhere else to go to and nowhere else to like understand, but you actually work together and have that together too, which is so good.
And our last point there is about communication, which is probably a big thing. Figuring out the best way to communicate with your team, what works for everybody.
And some strategies like that was like I don't know what you're using right this year, but I know some people said about like elephant in the room, like starting with a conversation whenever you have team meetings, like saying is there anything going on for each other, and just anything you want to address at the very start. Is there any other strategies you have for that?
I think it's just kind of just being open with each other, really. Like sharing what's on top and what's working, what's not.
Definitely.
And I love it. I think this year away from me has definitely taught me how much like our team we almost take for granted, I think, some of the things that we have going on in our space, because we do, like, there's such a great, so I'm so excited to see you guys when I come back. But yeah, it's like, it's really, really open, and being vulnerable and being open to like actually like being okay with sharing with each other is such a big takeaway for me in the co-teaching space too. So yeah, it really connects to all these. I love these visuals. I'm definitely going to share these visuals as part of the, so people can use them going forward. And if you're having to share it, because our school at the minute is trying to move towards a co-teaching model, so it's really good to have these little those little spaces as well for us to think. So I know that the next group are here. They're meant to be first because they've got a disco to go attend to. So I will put yous, and you can go off and enjoy your Friday night because you're a couple of hours ahead of us. So I hope you have a lovely Friday, and it's only a couple of weeks until I see you, so I'm really excited.
So exciting.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing, girls, and yeah, I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I can't wait to see you.
Right.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Hello. We have our next team coming on talking about our co-teaching and collaboration and coaching. Like I said, I know that you have somewhere to be. You've got a school disco to go and attend to, some dancing, some bopping. I'm surprised there's not more some UV lights or something. I thought there was some of that going on, but you're not there. So yeah, I think we'll get ready and we'll get started, and we'll let you know. The girls shared their flame. I'm not too sure if you created your little flame or you want to let us know a little about your flame. So we're just trying to talk about what ignites you.
So I'm Anita Anka. I'm the junior team leader for the year 0 to 2. And I guess the things that really spin my wheels and my passions is just learning new things. You know, I love sports, love being outdoors, love my family. And I think that's how we sort of operate as a team, like a family. So I just love those values that a family brings. That's me.
Beautiful. And Sammy?
I'm Sammy Weir. What really gets me going is my family and friends, but and reading. But with school, it's really student support and those learners that need a few extra things to help them get through the day. So they're the best.
Beautiful. And Gershon?
Why did the end, Gershon?
I'm trying to be serious and talking to you at the same time, so I'm professional.
Sorry, professional. My head off or head on?
Head on's fine.
Gershon, my passions are obviously going to the gym, puns, everything in between, but actually I love teaching. I love being face to face with kids and making learning fun and exciting, because I think that's where meaningful change happens, not like the old writing and the boring stuff. It's exciting. Learning is exciting. How cool is it that we get to continuously grow as people? So that's what I love doing. That's where it's at.
Thank you for sharing your flames. Thank you. And I'm just so excited. Like I was saying to the girls, so excited to have you on board and share these teams. So I've collaborated with some of you co-teaching wise with Gershon, and some of you across the Malaclani space and all that things. So it's just really great to have your perspectives in the conversation too. So what is one thing you think is vital for co-teaching and collaboration, and why? So kind of relating back to the other question that the girls have just shared, but in your experience, what do you think in that space? So Anita, we'll start with you.
Well, when we were talking about it, we were sort of preparing our little things, but we found it hard to talk separately about it because I guess there's no I in team, and we all bring different strengths, and we wouldn't be able to do this job without each other. So it's about really drawing on each other's strengths, which I think we all do well, and not just in our hub, but we try to do it cross hub as well. And I think the big thing is just that active listening. So and taking people's perspectives, or we sort of put our own perspectives in. So I think we are quite good at that. And we just have, we spend a lot of time just really kind of coming up with our common goal before we launch our learning design. So that's that. We just kind of really want to work out the why before we start doing the planning. So that's a big thing, really.
I think that is it. Yeah, go ahead. No, you're great. It's fine. Go ahead.
I think another thing we're really lucky at this school is we each week get some time released together, so we have collaborative time. We are working as a team, so we need that time, dedicated time together to be able to work out our shared goal and have those sometimes hard to have conversations where you're like, oh, I feel a little uncomfortable, but hey, we need to figure this out, and that's not actually working for us, so let's find another way. So yeah, I think we've been really pointed this term about having more structure to our collaborative time, and with that, and having like minutes where we talk about what we need to, we're getting our bang for our buck. So
yeah, I think that's like so important. Like I was actually just about to say that same thing about following on from Anita's point as well. Is like that common goal is so important, but the communications, what matters is like how you communicate with each other about how you're feeling about that, and moving from like a single cell type of environment where you're just planning yourself, you're just doing your own thing, you're getting on with it. Sometimes you want to just move forward and get on with your things, but having those conversations really does bring in your strengths and then moving forward with that together too. So yeah, such a great point about communication.
I think even being really open with one another, like to start our meetings, we talk about what's on top for us. So whether that's in our personal life, what's on top for work, like what's just that thing that's hanging for you, what can you set out, share with the team, we can problem solve together, and then all right, move on to that shared purpose.
Yeah, and Gershon, what's your
to set up like sort of norms and expectations of how you want your team to work right at the beginning. So like you were talking about before, you don't want that elephant in the room. You want to kind of, navigate your way through that. So I think that's really important just to have the expectations and how to make it a safe environment for you guys to collaborate.
Yeah, beautiful.
It also helps that we've got quite similar personalities and we're friends. So
it can always, it's not always an easy ride either. There's always going to be, bumpy parts of it. Just like it is with a family. But, if you can just show respect, you can, just trust each other and be really open and listen to each other's perspectives, you can't go wrong.
Yeah,
I think like that piece about like the tricky parts, the tricky to have conversations, because obviously like me and Gershon actually work together and like in those spaces, and like I'm trying to be serious and trying to be good with Gershon, like, and it's so important because like whenever me and Gershon had those conversations, like sometimes he would think one thing or I would think another thing, and then we would come together and say, okay, what's the commonality, what's the common thing that we're trying to do? Like it's the kids at the end of the day, so where are you coming from, where am I coming from? And those perspectives are just really important. Then you grow together, and I grew so much as a teacher having those conversations. It might have been a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit tricky to begin with, but the more you had them, the more you're like, oh, okay, you're not a bad person. You just might not agree with exactly what I'm having, and you might not like it's such powerful conversations can come from that as well. Yeah.
I think the one thing also that's really important, and Gershon's really good at this, but just giving that positive reaffirming and feedback to like almost when you least expect it. Like, oh, thanks. I feel really, really valued. We were talking today with Gershon about, but we were just saying how he's so good at that. That's his real strength. And just sort of giving that incidental feedback, and that's how you connection.
Yeah. What's one thing you think, Gershon, about like co-teaching and collaboration then?
Like, I really believe like all. I guess like this is also like it feels like a team, like Naomi included. Like, but I feel like it's trust within this team. Like, I've been feeling rubbish, and like I was away today, but like I trust these guys. Like I don't have to be here, like for the hub to work and for it to be amazing. Like, it is built on relationship. Like, and we've talked about it quite a bit. You can build a team on strengths, but if the relationship's not there, the team's going to fall apart. You build a team on relationships, and the strengths don't matter. And we talked about it, and this team is it's so perfect. Like, and we have like amazing relievers coming in. They just like
they want to keep coming back.
Yeah, like, and they love this hub, and the kids are excited and happy. Like, we've got some really like tricky learners, but like excited to be at school. They're excited to listen. Like, you have a team that functions well. You have a hub that runs well. Like, coming to school is like where you want to be. You don't want to be away. So this team is like so of that. And like it's such a cool team to learn from. Like, so many strengths, like junior teams, senior leadership. Like also like willing to speak their minds. Like, so that's like it's such a cool team. And I think that's what it's really built on, is that relationship, that trust piece.
And like you said before, is like that, like the I, it's like the we go, not ego, and like trying to find that balance between like the ego part of it and find that balance between the we go. And whenever you first come into that, if you're only used to like that one single space where you're in the person and you're the person, like that can be a bit of a transfer, like a transition time where you're trying to understand each other and understand where you fit and letting control of the whole thing and understand that actually together you can bring more. It might go, what's that quote? I think Tony Stark said it actually, with something about like you don't go, you can go far but like slow or something like that. But yeah, it's like really important to go together. It might take a little bit longer, but like what you can actually produce at the end is really important too. So yeah, cool team.
I think what we can create all together is going to be so much more than ever I could do. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sometimes we come out of meetings and we're like, whoa, all right.
For years I've always taught in a single school, but for 7 years I haven't, and I could never go back.
Yeah, it's such an important thing. I think that's what, because this year for me, it's been like the school's trying to move towards a co-teaching model and trying to move from like that. Like, and that's what's really taught me is how much we do have just these ingrained nuances in our teams at Stonefields, like just these things you don't even realize are happening. You're like, oh, like that's the purpose behind this, or that's the reason behind that, and like the conversations are so important. So yeah, it's really taught me some great things. And I think going between the two, it makes you realize what you can bring from maybe just being by yourself into co-teaching and going from a teaching into like a by yourself. There's a lot of strengths between those two spaces as well. So yeah, thank you team. I'm going to bring the next group on. I know you have to go do your boogieing and getting your dancing going. I forgot to take a photograph with the last one, taking a photograph for every session, so I missed out on Emma and the thing, but and Haley, but take a look. 3, 2, 1. Cute. Kawaii. So I'm excited to see you next month, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing. Bye. And we have our final team coming on, Hope and Ollie, the duo.
How you guys? We're good.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming on your Friday. You're already free to leave work, but you're coming on and staying on doing this stuff.
We've got the senior disco in a couple of hours as well. So hey, we're just building up excitement for that. So.
You have to get your dancing shoes on too. Then you've got some time to kill.
Yeah.
Ollie's getting a limbo competition.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, come back to the flame of like what ignites you, what's your passions, what your strengths, what your things that you like to do in that space. So do you want to share a little bit about your both?
Well, I'm really passionate about senior literacy in terms of writing and especially using video games to engage learners. Video games are my jam, and especially get learners that might feel a little bit different about learning into literacy, especially writing through engaging games, not just Call of Duty, but actually there's a whole plethora of video games out there that we could be using just like texts in libraries. And I think it's untapped resource. So that's very much what I'm about. Yeah.
Love it. Your fire. And Hope.
I would say I'm very passionate about, we both are very passionate about designing rich opportunities for learning and making really authentic and real context for the learners that we teach. And I also really enjoy, like Sammy was saying, supporting our student support learners and those that we say at Stonefields, like the top of our triangle, and supporting them to access those like learning experiences as well.
Yeah, creating those different entry level points so they can still access the learning, but it just means that they can actually access in a way that is relevant to their learning stuff.
Yeah, and it's so cool. Like you've been in the team for a while now, actually. So me and Ollie worked together in the very first year of working at Stonefields, and you've been together for what, 2 years in the team?
Yeah, so second year. Yeah.
So we started together in a 2-person hub last year, and we started and we didn't know each other at all. And we're this year in a 3-person hub. So we've got a new colleague called Sarah. So we're working 3 of us with 85 learners.
Yep. And so I'm team leader of the year 7-8s, but we work in the 7-8 cohort.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And it's so cool. It's so good. Like it's like I said, I'm keeping myself composed. I'm just so excited to see you all whenever I come back. But yeah, it's so cool like to have like all those different journeys and all those different lenses across the different roles across the school. So what do you think? It says like how can purposeful collaboration, coaching and conversations lead to synergetic teams? What do you think about that space? I can share your screen if you like. Would you like me to put your screen up?
Yes.
Matrix.
Do I
it's today for some reason it's not actually working. You just put it up and then you can talk about it a little bit and then perfect.
You can see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see.
Cool.
Cool. So before we start, we do want to credit Chris Bradbeer, Dr. Chris Bradbeer from Stonefields School, who does loads of work in this space. And we have got a few of his models, as well as our principal, Sarah Martin, has created some of the models we're going to refer to.
We're very lucky at Stonefields to actually be in a school that repurposes this stuff and to actually really puts time and pride into it. So first, we wanted to start with kind of reiterating what the other two teams have already said, but it's really important, first of all, to know yourself and be really self-aware before you go into a collaborative teaching environment. And I think Ollie and I are both very self-aware, quite sensitive at times as well in terms of like getting the feedback, but we have got much better at that. So before we look at the bigger model, I think it's very important for you to know yourself and what drives you and what sort of person you are in terms of trust. And also what doesn't drive you. What we're going to talk about what spins your wheels and what doesn't. But what are your strengths, but actually what are your weaknesses, and being not just saying, oh, they're my weaknesses, there's no hope of getting better at them, but acknowledging that I actually need to grow in this area. I think sometimes we can sort of default to, well, I'm not organized, so that's my lot. But actually what you actually need to do in that area to build that, because what do you lose, or what does your team lose when that's a challenge? And I think being open to learning, we ask our learners to be open to learning. And I think it's actually a lot harder for us as adults, because we come with a heck of a lot more baggage often and experiences that can traumatize or can prioritize learning at different times, and actually thinking about, am I in a good space for learning right now? And that can be honest, but obviously we want our staff to be learners.
And so you can see around the outside of yourself, we talk a lot at Stonefields about sense-making conversations, and a little bit about that in a moment, as well as trust. But for example, with Ollie and I, we came into a team where we didn't know each other at all. So we actually started by saying, like, actually, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, well, we had this conversation. I think if we go there, you're either a person that goes into a situation trusting somebody, you have trust innately, or you are a person who goes into a situation and doesn't trust someone. So either you have trust and it can be taken away or earned, or you end up not trust. Sorry, you go in with no trust and it has to be earned. I'm a person who, if I work with you the first time, I don't trust you. I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. With me, yet you have to earn it.
Whereas with me, I'm very trusting, and then it can be taken away
and I think that's really important to talk about. It's nothing personal. So this Naomi, when I actually first met her, you to hope when I first met her, was a habit. But actually this is, for me, I don't trust people straight away. That's nothing personal, so please don't get offended by that. But it's just that we're actually wired differently, and to dialogue that takes some of that sort of sensitivity or vulnerability away, I think, which is really important.
I think that's what I liked about our training at Stonefields. It was a lot of actually looking inward before we actually looked outward to other people as well. It was like looking inward at ourselves. I think that's what training is so important, is actually, yes, being part of a team is about other people and you, but actually you are part of yourself to actually bring to that team. So looking inward's a really good part of the training actually too, yeah.
And I think about actually in terms of how you're making sure that you're in a green brain, that you're actually in a space that you can learn. So often we have outside lives that, at times can get really challenging, but actually being open to talk about that, which is why it's so important. So obviously we're going to talk a little bit about sort of trust pluses and collaboration enablers. So obviously there are actions that can plus trust, or there are actions that can take away trust. But it's also, they're variable, like we talk right at the start about what gets up our nose, and I think actually putting and by what you want to talk about what gets up our nose?
I would say, especially coming into a collaborative environment, like for me, if people don't follow through with what they've said they're going to do, you're relying on people, then that probably does affect me. What would you say?
I would say that for a long time, I just didn't really realize that some people need time to think about their thoughts, because I just talk the whole time, which is why you can see I'm actually trying to prompt. Just dialogues, and I will fill the space with noise. I never even considered that might be actually really, really hard for people that need processing time. And in terms of what gets up, I'm very, my organization and my thinking patterns are probably quite. Are you giggling now?
Yes, I am giggling.
The way I think is probably a little bit differently, which we all think, but I'm very much big picture, big ideas, and I connect in big, whereas I'm not very sequential and ordered, and that can be really challenging for some people, and that can be meant I can find some things really challenging.
Yeah, a takeaway, I guess what we're saying is that everyone is different, and we're also talking about extroversion and introverted people. And so in any team, we've done a few like kind of personality tests to find out what different traits we have is such an important. You could definitely do that in any new team. I would definitely recommend that, just to even start to know yourself a bit better, and for your team to understand you too.
And I think it's important to bring this into the classroom as well. Like we talk about with our learners how we're different and how we work together well, because they see that. But I think they either see it when it works or when it doesn't. And I often think learners can see it when it doesn't work with teachers, but actually putting legs on why it does work is really, really important. Actually frame that up. Actually, this is why this relationship works, which I think is quite powerful.
I think it's so like that, but even like you said, but like some teams, I think sometimes it's not actually brought up, and it's so powerful to have these images. Like someone just said about like these visuals are great, and I think like it's so important to be able to have something tangible to talk about these type of like not they are almost like hidden topics that we're talking about. Some like someone's feelings, someone's emotions, someone's thoughts, someone's so it's really good to have these little takeaways in these little spaces for us to provoke. It's
giving a scaffold to those conversations, which is really important. And it's something to come back to, because what gets up my nose on day one is going to be very what gets up my nose on day 30 when I'm doing a report and I've got family things at home, talking about our sort of, our perspectives might be. And I think what was mentioned before, but actually coming back to that shared belief of why we're here, like I think one of the reasons that we trust each other so deeply is that we truly believe we're here for the same reason. That's for the kids to actually make it our learners, and I believe that's why Hope is here, and that's why I think we get along so well.
I think it was me that mentioned it. It was like because like me and Gershon working in a team, and like we had to have conversations where it was like, what do you like? What's your strategy here? What are you coming with? What am I coming with? But actually, our common goal was, and it wasn't that we disagreed. It was just that we had different insights on what we thought was the best step forward. And I think that's like it's sometimes like that ego piece and that we-go piece. Actually, like, is my ego getting in the way of me letting this better thing come forward, or is it actually the better thing to come forward with too? So yeah.
Even as conversation starters, I feel that when I see that when, not rather than when you. How do I feel about it first?
Yeah, really good.
So I'll just come along to the kind of zoomed out version of the model we use at Stonefields for synergetic teams. Kind of starts with the blue color. And so first of all, starting with your team function, setting the scene, and having those conversations we've just said about what gets us going, what actually is a trust plus or a trust minus.
And even just that time allocation, it's like when throughout the week we actually spend time as a team, what times don't work for people. Because I think just giving time and being evidenced with each other, and just, whether it's doing displays or whether it's actually, I think while we want to delegate often tasks out, truly spending time with each other is really, really important. But actually, time is really precious for different people. But Hope and I are both in a situation we don't have children. So more time to give in that. But for some people, that's actually not a luxury they have.
Yeah.
So how to prioritize that?
So for example, like we've got a team member who does have 3 children, and so he's still doing the mahi, but just at different times is logging on later at night. And so it's the flexibility that you allow for different team members is really important.
And she's been really wonderful in the fact that she sort of comes to the team saying, look, I do have kids, but if you let me know in advance, I'm really prepared to make sure that they can do other things so we can put this time in. So I think that's really, really beneficial.
I think it goes back to like the conversation going through all of the like the three areas is like that communication piece, just like letting the team know where you're at that day, where you're at that week, where you're at that month. And sometimes it can be like you're like not that you're oversharing, but actually just like sharing a little bit of your thing is actually so valuable for other people's that empathy piece. If you share a little bit of yourself, like that goes back to it.
Yeah, and I think setting up those systems and the team function, setting up that check in, hey, each couple of weeks, that's do it as a team, because it's setting up that regular check so you don't feel like, oh, I've got to, burden them again with how I'm feeling. So it's that regular piece. Yeah. So setting up those expectations.
And so the bottom, if you start from the blue and then go to the light green, that's sort of setting the scene. And then the red is sort of day to day. And then the green is like where the fun actually happens and when you're actually able to take risks, challenge yourself, observe each other, get out of your comfort zone, which is what you truly want in a synergetic team.
No, it's beautiful. I think like that visual again, going back to, I think it's like it says, some people have said like no place for ego in education and things like that. I think it's so great to have it all involved.
I think it's really, really important to have those scaffolds in place, because we say we want to be synergetic, we want to value trust, but actually look like And when you don't know people and you come into a team, what are the systems that we can put in place to actually enable that? Because just to get to that place without any sort of scaffold, it can happen, but it's quite, I mean, to be fair, with you and Bob and I, but that's not normal.
And we were just kind of like, it was like, and I think, but I think there's value to both of them. Like sometimes, like whenever you're like you fall into like I think guys, that's what taught me is like our very first team there was like that kind of like synergy and it was all just bouncing. And I think there were some things actually though that were lacking from that team that maybe like like the organization. That's why I laughed because I was like me and you and Bob weren't organized at all. And I think like it was like whenever you have like some
open up.
And I think with Ollie and like with Gershon, like we had to have different conversations and that helped me grow in that space. I think there's like different strengths to like and different things but those different stages. I think it's beautiful. Someone just said I am in a teaching team and environment in Singapore, definitely going to take some of these ideas back to my team because it's great takeaways to actually be able to put those little things. So can you talk through what you put up on the screen now?
Yeah, so for this one, I guess we've just used the same model, but we wanted to give some real concrete takeaways for people of the process that they could go through. So we've spoken a little bit about the top two in terms of putting everything on the table.
But what adds trust for you and what might and do it before you experience it.
Exactly.
And be honest. If it's something that really pisses you off, I'm just not.
You're fine.
No, bring it to the because it's better. It's better talking about, hey, I get annoyed by your coffee cups, before the term starts, rather than exploding at me once I leave 40 coffee cups around. I'm getting that from this.
Are you talking from experience, Ollie Baker?
And so obviously after the honeymoon period, self-assess your team function. Come back to it. Hey, it's week 4. Let's check in. What's getting up our nose? Is it different? What are those focused takeaways? And I guess knowing when to collaborate and knowing when to delegate as well. That comes with strengths as well. But I think there's nothing wrong with putting these almost these systematic formulaic checks in place to actually establish that because we want to experience growth, and it's how did that happen?
I think those systems then turn into like almost natural conversations. Same as the learners. Whenever we're trying to grow their vocabulary or grow their things, like with them, like the vocabulary starts to sentence stems and sentence starters, and some learners can take it straight away. But a lot of times that's where like the more you practice it, the more it becomes part of your conversation and part of your natural language. And then when you go from like the having to have the conversations to then it becoming part of your actual day-to-day routine, that's kind of a good transition as well. Yeah, beautiful.
We've got a few more slides. I think that's us time, is it?
Yeah, beautiful. That's like it's so good. I think like it's I was gonna take you off and bring you back on just yourselves. I think it's so good. It's like it's such a great, like you said, like a couple of people have written in and said thank you for the takeaways and the shared experiences. Because I think, like you said, it's Stonefields School, and like, you want to make that clear that it is coming from like the Stonefields School and the Chris Bradbeer space. But I think it's like the lived experiences through the visuals, then they come into the actual lived experiences that you're sharing too. So yeah, it's such great takeaways. And I think like Keisha said, it's like open, brave communication is essential. I think the brave part of it actually is brave, because sometimes it is like, so like, oh my gosh, are they going to think of this of me? Are they going to think that of me? Are they going to, but that open-minded part that you talked about is, what is this person coming to me about? Are they judging me? Are they attacking me? Are they like telling me I'm a bad person? Or are they just open to growth and us growing together? So yeah.
And putting those scaffolds in place in order to be brave, because it's actually really challenging to actually order to build our confidence, to try and take away that personal, well, it is a personal thing, but it's actually, this is what we're here for. We're doing this. We're all doing it together to use that framework. Yeah.
And Andrew said, like, neurodiversity is way deeper than we can comprehend. We often feel attracted to those who think like us, but in reality, no one thinks like we do. And I think like it's good to think like us. But like I said, some of the best conversations I've had as well, people who don't think like me, and like how I've grown from that part too. And I think that's open conversation too, which is really good. So thank you, team. There's been lots of takeaways and lots of people coming in, and we've been very professional. I'm actually really proud of us the whole way through. I wasn't too sure how we were going to go.
Well done. Yeah, it's amazing.
It's amazing what you've done. So I'm definitely going to give you a line after this.
And we're going to tweet. We're going to tell people about it.
Yeah.
Many little year 4s and now year 8s. Yeah,
keep it up. How many more to go?
Oh, we're actually okay. We're session 10 next. So session 10 and session 11 and session 12. I've got four more sessions left, and I'm feeling great.
All right.
Cool. Keep
Okay.
that.
Well, thank you so much. Enjoy dancing and enjoy. Oh, wait a minute. I need to take a photograph of us too. Enjoy dancing and yeah, take it as well. 3, 2, 1. Enjoy all the rest of it too. So thank you so much for sharing. And we said fabulous stuff. Hope and Ollie, thanks from the team. And so I'm just going to put up a little space before we go. I'm just going to put up, just let people know, because all the resources that we're talking about and all the things that we are sharing are part of Stonefields School and part of Chris Beer and all the different things. But we will be putting those up as like Twitter posts and things like that too, so people can share.
If you want more resources, just email us. It's turning off. Okay.
Yeah, and we can email that too. So that's all. You can put that bit.ly/EEConquest 2021, and our next session coming up is with Adam Hill and Fiona Morrison, and you can find that at bit.ly/EEConquest guest 10. So that's the end of our show now. Thank you, team. Bye bye.